She was a single mom in the 80s with a Batman apron. And she was an awesome vegan baker, and he lived for her cookies. He was an extremely active child and totally a mama's boy. And she loved carving pumpkins and taught him everything. And then, one day, on the way to the pumpkin patch, he looked away for a second. And then she was gone, as though she blew away in the wind. Confused, he went wild, taking out his frustration by carving up vegan bakers in the neighborhood every Halloween.
And that's the legend of the Pumpkin Carver, who's totally roaming the neighborhoods of Chicago and maybe Milwaukee, searching for vegan bakers who have had lots of press to kill.
We've gotten a lot of press lately.
Even though there's a killer on the loose, we're still making cookies.
Terrifying vegan cookies.
Ooh.
We're gonna start tonight by making vegan chocolate pumpkin truffles.
To make this cookie, you will need vegan vanilla sandwich cookies, almonds, cinnamon, ground clove, powdered sugar, vegan chocolate chips, pumpkin puree, and maple syrup.
To start, we need to set up a double boiler to melt our chocolate chips. Simply take a pot and find a bowl that's gonna fit like this in the pot, nice and snug. And you're gonna want to fill up your pot maybe about halfway or a little bit under. You just don't want the water to touch the bottom of your bowl. I've got my heat cranked up kind of high. I'm gonna take 1 cup of chocolate chips and let them melt.
We're going to toast 1 cup of almonds. Just heat your oven up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and just throw them in on a cookie sheet. 12 minutes. When your almonds are done, you want to transfer them to a bowl or a plate so they'll stop baking.
You'll need a half a cup of powdered sugar sifted. I use a metal strainer, but you could easily use a sifter. And if you don't have a sifter, you can use a whisk. Just stir it around really fast. We're trying to get lumps out. That's what sifting is, de-lumping. You'll need about half a box of vanilla sandwich creams, and you're gonna just crush them to make about 2½ cups. After your cookies are sufficiently crumbled, you're gonna put them in a food processor or a blender and pulse them till they're crushed up really, really fine. After the cookies are crushed up real fine, you'll dump it into a bowl. Once your almonds are cooled down enough, you're going to put them in the food processor and pulse them fine. Pulse them fine.
So fine.
Put it on with the cookie crumbs. Look how melty our chocolate is. Perfect! We need 2 teaspoons of cinnamon and a ½ teaspoon of clove. You stir it up, Stace.
Yes.
Stir it up. Ooh, ooh. Here's our chocolate. It's all melted. We're gonna fold it into our mixture and mix it up.
Most semi-sweet chocolate chips are vegan. Note that if they're not, they say milk chocolate. But read the label.
We need a ½ cup of pumpkin puree.
This is a pumpkin solid pack.
And about 1/4 cup of maple syrup. Now you're going to fold all this stuff in, kind of like scooping up from the bottom and bringing it over the top till it's all mixed together. Voyole!
Now we're going to have this mixture stand for about 10 minutes. In the fridge. Stood.
First you're going to need a cookie sheet or some kind of flat surface, a platter, a plate, whatever, something flat, and take wax paper or parchment paper, put it on top, and then grab a little hunk of your truffle mix, just a little hunk, you know, however big you want your truffles, really, and roll them up. Roll them up and set them down. And if your fingers get too sticky, wet them with a little bit of water. Once you've rolled your truffles, let them set up in the fridge for about 20 minutes more.
You mean you don't have to cook them?
No.
Do you mean, you let them sit for 20 minutes and then they're ready to eat.
Then they're ready to be garnished and then eaten. These truffles have been setting up in the fridge for about 20 minutes. They're good to go. They just need to be garnished. So I'm going to take a little bit of cocoa powder, put it in a bowl, and drop the truffles in one by one. Scoot them around. Done. You could also garnish these with finely ground almonds, the same way we're doing this. Mmm. These are delicious too.
Should you be bloody this scene?
Mm-hmm. We're making vegan ginger cookies.
To make this cookie, you will need vegetable oil, sugar, molasses, soy milk, water works fine if you don't have soy milk, unbleached white flour, whole wheat pastry flour, baking soda, baking powder, salt, ground cinnamon, ground clove, ground ginger, and ground nutmeg.
First, you're going to mix 2/3 cup of oil with 1 2/3 cup of sugar.
Whisk it. Just mix up the sugar and oil.
Vigorous mixing. Next, 1/2 cup of soy milk and 1/2 cup of molasses. Soy milk and molasses mixture in with the sugar and the oil.
With vigor!
We're going to mix all our dry ingredients in a separate bowl. Then we're going to combine the wet mix and the dry mix gradually, being very careful to not overmix. You're going to need 3 1/2 cups of unbleached white flour. Next, I'm going to put in 1 1/2 cup of whole wheat pastry flour. Now, if you don't have whole wheat pastry flour, you could just use more unbleached white. We need a teaspoon of baking soda and a teaspoon of baking powder. I like my ginger cookies gingery, potent. So this gets 2 whole tablespoons of powdered ginger, 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of clove, 1 teaspoon of salt. Mixing lovely and gentle with a whisk. Go ahead and take your wet mix, give it a little stir, and then pour it into your dry mix, and then fold it in. Mixing as minimally as humanly possible because you don't want to overmix. This is it. Now it's time to throw it in the fridge to let it firm up a little bit. Let it stand.
I think our ginger cookies have stood long enough. Heat your oven to 375.
First we got to prepare our baking sheets. We're just going to spray them lightly with an oil spray. So now we're going to shape our cookies.
These are going to be about the size of golf balls, so this is a perfect one. We're rolling them into balls, but you can roll this out and put cookie cutters in, so that's always an option.
After you've shaped all your dough, you're going to flatten just a little bit, but not so much that it's too thin, because the thinner the cookie, the crispier it'll be. And we want these to be kind of chewy.
Put them in the oven. These guys cook for 10 to 12 minutes. Man, I'm hot, Melissa. I'm gonna get some air outside. It's so dark outside. I'll be back in like 10 minutes.
All right, be careful.
Burr.
It's been over 10 minutes. Hey, the cookies are done. They sure are done. Look, this is the perfect cracked surface we're looking for. That's how you know when these are done, honestly. Let's have some cookies.